Hi, welcome to Personality Hacker. My name is Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
And today we're going to talk about, we're just going to kind of riff on the ISTJ personality and the Myers Briggs personality system, or in the Genius system, the memory effectiveness personality.
Now, what's really interesting about this type is that there's actually quite a few of this type represented in the male population. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of men who are ISTJs, but I actually know quite a few females who are ISTJs as well. And what I've always admired about this type more than anything else is that they just get it done. Like, ISTJs are some of the most what is the word I'm looking for? Just like they absolutely get so much handled. They're just very
prolific.
Maybe?
Is that a word?
Yeah, industrious. That's the word I was looking for. They're very industrious. So if you're of this type, one of the things I've just absolutely admired about your type is your ability to be super industrious. And that makes sense because what's happening for your personality type is that you're marrying two different mental processes that we call memory and we call effectiveness. Now, memory is all about making sure that things are handled infrastructurally. Memory is about understanding how things should be based on how they've been and making sure that we honor the structures that are already put in place. So if you're a person who really honors sort of how we've done things traditionally, and really honors how infrastructures have been built. And then you combine that with a process called effectiveness, which is all about creating systems and closing loops and getting things done. You can see how the combination of these two things would create a very industrious person.
Yeah, and you're probably the type of person, if you're an ISTJ, that really appreciates continuing traditions, continuing to help infrastructure stay at the heightened level it is. So if there's things in place, you have the ability to continue those things forward. And I think that's really a talent of yours in a lot of ways.
Yeah, there's like a strong sense of conservatism. And I don't mean that politically. I don't mean that like to be a conservative, but there's a sense of conservatism that you can really see play out with the people of this type because they don't want anything to go to waste.
Well, and also for safety, for security, for making sure, if you're, for example, let's say that, an ISTJ is in charge of the security of a bank, they're going to be very focused on making sure that we don't try to reinvent the wheel or do things that are risky. It's risk management a lot of times. Yeah. And I think that's something that the world definitely needs to make sure that we're honoring the way things are set up, and we're honoring the traditions, and we're honoring the structures that are put in place. And we don't let creative people come in and maybe mess with them too much because it could actually cause serious damage.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, though, to remember about people of this type and what's really important is that they make sure to continue to develop that process of effectiveness. Now, what effectiveness does is it encourages people of this type to get out and take positions that help them build, help them lead, be in positions where they can really sort of implement these systems that they understand will, sort of keep everybody moving and make sure that all the machines are working the way that they're supposed to be, whether those be actual physical machines or people machines. Now, if a person of this type doesn't really sufficiently develop the effectiveness process, what will happen is they'll sort of slip into, if you look at the car model, what we call the 10-year-old position, which is for them the mere opposite of effectiveness. It's a feeling process. And that's when they're really in touch with how things are making them feel. Now, there's nothing wrong with being in touch with your emotions, and we actually encourage it for all types. However, if they rely too much on that 10-year-old process to help them make decisions, they might get overly sensitive and create and generate a lot of pride. Now, the problem with this type generating a lot of pride is that actually makes it so it's really difficult for them to create intimacy with other people. So even if they're really effective and industrious, they might have trouble with relationships because they don't want anybody to come in too far and maybe hit that sensitive spot. And so they build an artificial wall that prevents them from really being able to create intimacy with other people. So it's really important for them to not go to that sort of oversensitive emotional space of authenticity and develop pride. And it's more important for them to stay in the co-pilot place of effectiveness and actually ask, okay, so what works? How am I going to implement, sort of strategies that will keep me, in relationships with other people, as well as, maintaining that leadership or that management status that they're actually very good with. So what I recommend is, if you are of this type, go to the Genius Style Assessment at personalityhacker.com, hit the take the test button. If you've already done that and you've discovered that you are a memory effectiveness person, kind of give some consideration, if it's interesting to you, to get the premium content. This gives you a lot of really cool tips and strategies for developing that effectiveness process and making sure that you're not going too much into that emotional space, which can actually be rather sensitive.
Yeah, the Genius system and the full profile is built upon the Myers Briggs system, which is a tried and true system. It's been around for decades. It's been kind of the personality typology standard for a long time. And what we've done is we've found leverage points in the system for you to grow as a person, using it as a launching pad for personal development and personal growth. So we really feel it's powerful using that system and then adding some elements there that will help you grow as a person as an ISTJ. Mm-hmm. So what is one secret that you think ISTJs have that most people don't? Not a secret they have, but a secret about them that most people don't realize.
What is a secret about ISTJs that most people don't realize? Now, ISTJs will know this when I say it, if you're willing to admit it. But I think I was talking about earlier that ISTJs can be sensitive. They can go to that authenticity process and create some pride. I think it's because they're more sensitive than they'll let on. I think they're a lot more sensitive about their feelings and their sort of how they respond to things than they'll let people realize. So they might have this like really strong sort of brick wall demeanor, but I don't think it's real. I think that they actually are rather sensitive to other people. And so they're very picky. They're very careful about who they'll let in.
As I asked you that, I had another thought about the ISTJ personality, and kind of in the same vein, I think that because oftentimes the ISTJ feels they're a very responsible type personality type. They show up in the world, whatever role that you're in as an ISTJ, you feel like you need to show up and be responsible in that role, which is good. You should. But then there's this part of you that's very almost childlike and playful. And you almost like to have a playful experience. And oftentimes it's with the past. I've seen a lot of ISTJs be into things like, model airplanes or things that remind them of a more childlike or playful experience. And I think that's also a good part of their personality. I think that's a secret that maybe most people don't see. I've seen a lot of that expression come out. Because they have to show up so serious all the time.
Yeah.
This allows a playful experience in some ways.
I think you're right. I think they are more playful than they let on as well. And I think there's also a part of them that kind of has like this sort of quirky sense of humor.
Yeah.
Like they kind of sort of the stereotypical dumb joke. I think ISTJs usually oftentimes really kind of appreciate a good sense of humor. Not that they're telling dumb jokes, but I think they actually have a better sense of humor than they would let on as well.
I would agree.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us on this riff of the ISTJ personality type, or the memory effectiveness type, in the Genius Style Assessment.